We have a special assignment today. We are here at the Toledo Zoo as part of their 125th anniversary. It's a big year here. We got a behind the scenes tour in the Primate Forest on one of the very cool animals, mammals you will see here, the red ruffed lemur. And they've got a lot of personality. Let's take a look. All right, well, Cora, we're in the Primate Forest here. Show us where we're heading.
Come on in. And they're greeting us too.
I can hear them already.
I told you that it sounded like they were fighting when they vocalized, so.
And it sounds like they might be interacting to the guests who are walking by, not necessarily us.
That is always a potential. So if they see something that they may find scary or threatening, they'll vocalize. If they see something that they're excited about, they'll vocalize. So red ruffed lemurs are actually one of the most vocal lemur species.
We got this special access to the enclosure for the zoo's 4 red ruffed lemurs. Coral Stoddard is the small mammal area manager, and she knows her stuff about these guys.
So this is their place where people are going to see them out and about. What do they get to do in this area right here?
So this is going to be their daily exhibit. When we come in the morning, we come out and we clean and get everything out from the day before. We'll set up their new diet, and then we will put enrichment out here, and then we'll let them out on an exhibit, and this is where they hang out all day long, and visitors can come and see them.
So you don't have to entertain them all day long.
No.
You have to make sure that they have what they need.
Correct, yeah. So when you come to a zoo, what we're really trying to do for the animals and the visitors is to create a natural environment for them. So we want to give them things that will allow them to act like lemurs. And we want the public to be able to see them behave like lemurs. So I get asked the question, oh, do you brush their fur and do you keep them clean? No, I like my fingers exactly how they are. So they
you have to be careful, right?
Yes, they get to be lemurs.
And you just want them to, obviously they're in captivity, so you want them to feel as normal as an environment as possible.
Absolutely. So that's one of the big factors that we're looking to gain for these animals and for every species that we work with here, not just the red ruffed lemurs. So we want to create opportunities for them to exhibit natural behaviors. So you'll see with the red ruffed lemurs, we put ropes in so that they can hang upside down. Which is on right now,
yeah.
We do that so they can hang upside down by their feet. So that's a very natural behavior. They're a mainly arboreal species, so out in the wild they would hang in trees to eat. So we put in ropes and we have these nice high logs so that, as he's going to exhibit here for us, just dangling by their toes.
And do you know who that one is right there? They don't have name tags, so how do you know, right?
They don't have name tags, but the red ruffed lemurs are actually some of the easiest small primates to identify. So the males have white along their toes, their back feet, and then the females do not. And that looks like...
Not to put you on the spot here.
No, you're good. That's one of the kids.
Okay.
I think that is our male Borealis.
So you have Aurora and Borealis,
We do.
and they are twins.
We do, yes. So
Okay.
It's actually most common for red ruffed lemurs are one of the only lemur species that will actually have a litter. So they can have up to 6 babies.
They were born to mom Tanana and dad Ferris.
Aurora and Borealis were born last year, correct?
Yes, they were born on the Aurora Borealis last year. So they were born May 10th last year.
So it makes sense for their names.
The keepers were ecstatic that they had the easy opportunity to use pretty names.
And this was something that was a big deal for the zoo because this is an critically endangered species. Explain what that means. Like how close are they to maybe not being around?
So when you get to the level of being critically endangered, there needs to be something happening to step in to turn that around. So when you're critically endangered, your numbers are decreasing so drastically that they're not able to reproduce to get their numbers back up fast enough. So with a critically endangered animal, the people in Madagascar are working to help to create space for them to reproduce, to continue on with numbers. And that's one of the hardest things in the wild is that when you have low numbers, it's mainly because you've lost so much habitat space.
And to have 2 born here, what does that mean, do you think?
It's huge. And actually, one of the coolest things for Toledo is that this is our first set of red ruffed lemur babies ever. So we've never had red ruffed lemurs before, so to have babies was super exciting. And this pair came to us, and we didn't have success the first year, so we had our fingers crossed the second year around, and we saw all the right behaviors, and then we were thrilled to get our first set of babies.
You can watch these lemurs from the regular guest access areas, but did you know you can sign up on the zoo's website for special behind-the-scenes tours? The red ruffed lemurs exhibit is one of Josh Miner's favorites. He's the assistant director of education for the Toledo Zoo.
Is this something you think a lot of people just don't realize is available? They just come to the zoo on a normal day and walk around, but there's something else they could be doing.
Yeah, I think it is one of those uncovered gems of the zoo that you can experience it more by going behind the scenes, meeting with the keeper, getting close to the animals. So it definitely is something that, whether you're an occasional visitor of the zoo or you come all the time, it's a way to enhance your experience.
What do you get out of seeing the reaction from people when the tour begins or when they see something they didn't expect to see?
There was a tour recently. The participant came blindfolded by their family as a surprise, and just the light on their face when they realized what they were about to do was, that's what it's all about. You know, you get that big smile and just that joy of that interaction and closeness with the animals.
You can also get a chance to feed the lemurs, which we were allowed to do, as long as we wore a mask within 6 feet of them.
All right, so these masks, we are wearing these, we're so used to wearing them for our protection, but this is for their protection, right?
Absolutely. So these guys can catch any illness that we can, so we are protecting them by wearing these masks. So whenever we're within 6 feet of the animals, we will put a mask on.
And that's kind of a regulation the zoo has?
That is one of our protocols, absolutely.
Okay.
So all you're gonna do is you're gonna poke that right through there,
All right.
and they will take it from you.
And they're hungry enough, so
Oh yeah,
I'll give...
and when you feed one, so this one is our female. Of course, that's gonna be a big old piece.
Can I still get it?
Yep, you're fine.
I dropped it because it's such a big piece here. So let's try that again. Can you get it?
There you go.
There we
I
go.
was like, I got it. So this upside down behavior,
This is so
you're
cool.
enriching her beautifully. You're bringing out her natural behaviors.
Now, if you go on a tour, can you feed?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is something
Yep.
that anyone
so
can
this
do.
is exactly what you'd be doing on his tour. We'll get him to come up here and sit down comfortably. There you go, bud.
Is this one of their favorite snacks then, or is it anything?
Any fruit these guys are thrilled about.
Okay. So, yeah, I was gonna say fruit is what their main
Fruit is
source
what
is.
they are going to be pretty excited about.
Now, I noticed the others aren't coming over. They probably just haven't noticed us yet.
There's a combination. So either
Feed this
they
one.
haven't noticed us, or the female here, Aurora, she is a spicy little lemur.
This is
and
Aurora right here?
This is Aurora. So she's a spicy little lemur, and when the others come over, she will fight for a treat. So
Oh, okay.
sometimes they just don't want to deal with her.
They know to stay out of
Yeah.
the way, right?
Yep.
There you go. It's such a cool experience.
Yeah, and that's one of the things here. I'll take the other skewer.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we will have 2 people feeding at once, just so we can avoid any
fights
any
or-
fights or aggression.
Okay.
So
Now,
now
who
that we've
did-
got 3 over here, I'll
I was
keep
gonna say,
one
who
busy.
didn't get one so far?
So this guy down here, this is Borealis.
Okay. They're long, aren't they? Like
He is a big
20
boy.
some inches long?
Yep, they are. This is a very. And see, here's our.
yeah.
Stop it. You go ahead and feed Borealis. I'll feed
Okay,
Aurora.
here we go. They
There you
both
go.
get one.
You gotta go same time.
There you go. Well,
When I say
I dropped
she's-
it again.
Here you go. I'll give you this guy.
Okay,
pieces
that's
are big.
easier. I almost wanted to help him, and that probably would have been
Don't
a
do
bad
it.
idea, right?
Don't do it. They're very fluffy and very cute, but actually one of the fun fact about lemurs, and this is the tour experience. If you come in, you do a tour, you get lots of fun facts about the species that you're visiting. With lemurs, their front teeth, that one will be easy for you to
Oh,
poke.
sure.
With lemurs, their bottom
Yeah.
teeth in the front are actually called comb teeth. So
To groom themselves,
to
right?
groom themselves.
Okay.
So the teeth actually stick straight out, and they use those teeth to groom themselves. But what that means is that it is not a good tooth for grasping food, so they have to get the food further back in their mouth.
Oh, okay.
So it's tough for them anyway to be fed from a skewer unless we can get it further towards the back of their mouth.
Now, is it okay? Can I like put the food up higher and then they can come up and get it? Oh, that's so cool.
You know what's really cool about that? And I don't have a lot of people on tours that actually pick up on that. That's a really cool way to exhibit how we train animals overall. So what we're doing when we're training is we're positively reinforcing them to get them to do what we want them to do.
Okay.
So you showing them that treat and holding it where you want it, you're kind of doing a little bit of training there.
And I'm failing on some of these.
That's okay. They gave us the most difficult treat to feed today.
There we go. Right. Well, sometimes they don't fit through the squares there, but they love it too, and it's good for them, right? They need they need this kind of nourishment.
Absolutely.
The red ruffed lemurs are letting us come up this close with the cantaloupe as a nice late morning snack.
He or she's really going up high there.
Yep.
And they can go all the way to the top,
and you want to see
wherever
the
they
cool
want.
thing
Right?
here? Let's see if we can get her to hang upside down by her feet again. Can you see? Here you go.
Does she see it? There she is.
Now we've got our dangling behavior here. She's like, oh, there we go.
Look
That's what
that
I was
is very
looking for.
You always think of the movie, right? And how they're so full of life, but in real life they are too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe they're not talking, but they're interacting in their own way, right? That's very cool.
Here you go.
And that, oh, I was gonna say, and they can leap from thing to thing too.
Easily, very easily. So there's that saying, leaping lemurs. It's a very apt expression because they are very good at jumping and leaping.
They're very agile and they're not gonna get hurt by landing on the ground or something?
Absolutely not, nope.
Very cool.
Even when one of the little guys gets a hold of the skewer, it's okay. The zoo doesn't use anything during these feedings that could hurt them.
And this is probably the part that people really love.
Absolutely.
Is getting a chance to feed them and have that close interaction you normally wouldn't have,
Absolutely.
right?
So the big moments of a behind the scenes tour is going to be obviously the face-to-face time with the animal, but something that I like to do when I'm working at the zoo is I like to go out and approach the public and talk to them.
Yeah.
But when you do these tours, that's the other big key component, is that you get to talk to people that work with these animals every day. And you know, when you wake up and go to work, you're going and telling a story and you're doing the news. I got into this because I wanted to tell a story about these animals and to educate.
Right.
And so you get to talk to somebody that's super passionate about these animals, and they know all the weird fun facts, and they also know the behind the scenes stories of, you know, these guys are really great, but if you aren't careful and you're walking underneath of them, you might get tinkled on.
Yes.
You know, it's all of the funny behind the scenes stories, and you know,
maybe if kids see this, they could be the future,
absolutely,
conservationist that keeps the species alive, right?
And that's the key factor of why we educate. Because we want to inspire the next generation of people that are going to care for these animals. It can't stop with me. Right. It can't stop with you. It has to go on to every generation. So we need to spark that passion for things outside of just us as human beings. We need to spark the passion for these animals as well.
The lemurs don't spend all their time climbing or jumping.
Now, when they're on the ground, what are they mostly doing? Looking for bugs or something to eat?
They are looking around to see anything they can find. If they can find some bugs, or when we are scattering their diet, we do, here you go, Mama. This is Mom, this is Tanana. We do scatter food items on the ground as well.
Okay.
So they're also just looking for food.
And do the kids kind of like act, this is my mom, I'm going to treat her with respect, or do you get to see that interaction?
So with lemurs, they are a female dominant society, and whether they want to respect their mom or not, she's going to demand it. So it is very cool to watch any lemur species, because with being female dominant, you see different behaviors than what you do if you would go and watch our gorilla troop.
Very different.
Very different, because male dominant societies just have a different vibe, and they get along differently.
That's what sets them apart, is the female dominated.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're probably always hungry, right?
They are always hungry. That's something that we have to be very careful with lemur species. You have to be careful of obesity because they will eat and eat and eat and eat. So whenever we're giving treats, we are giving them healthy treats. And we are very aware of how much we're giving them.
Are there any hopes to have future red ruffed lemurs, not just after they were born last year?
Yep, yeah, we are, this is a breeding pair, so once we can, if we're not breeding them, we put them on contraception, and when we are breeding them, we just make sure that they're clear of contraception. I'm sorry, you are ridiculous.
He's really a ham there, right?
I can't.
Who is this?
This is Dad still. This is Ferris.
This is Ferris.
Yeah.
How old do you think he is?
Ferris is 9 years old.
Okay.
And Tanana's 15.
And they can live up to what, almost 20 years?
In the wild, 15 to 20, but in captivity, it's common for them to live up to 25.
Because the predators aren't there.
Yep, and they get plenty of food and water, and they have their own personal healthcare system. So,
right.
Yep.
They have good health care.
Exactly. So, but I think the oldest red ruffed lemur was around 33.
Oh, okay.
So.
And the red ruff they get the name because of the fur and how it's ruffled a little bit, right?
The fur does look like it's more like woolly and rough, hence rough, but they're pretty soft.
Yeah, you almost wish you could pet them, but you can't.
Yeah, the only time that we touch their fur is if they are undergoing their yearly exam, and then we're able to feel all around and make sure that they're in good condition. But no, these guys are not up for a petting. They don't allow that.
Are they one of your favorite animals here, mammals?
Lemurs are one of my favorite groups of primates, yes.
They have a lot of personality.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. You can just see it. All four of them, you can see the personality coming out.
And that's my favorite, the giggling of kids.
Yes.
That's one of the best things when you're walking through the zoo. If you hear that, that's a good day at the zoo. You get to hear all of the kids that are giggling and enjoying seeing them hop around.
That's one of the things they'll mention on the car ride home, right?
You got it. Yep.
We also were able to walk around the enclosure, seeing how big a space this really is for the red ruffed lemurs.
So as we walk around here, I mean, they do have a decent amount of space to play around in and enrich in, right?
Absolutely. So these exhibits are around 25 feet high. And they are really large exhibits. It's one of the things that I actually really appreciated with working at Toledo Zoo is when I've been to other facilities, I really enjoy how large our exhibits are because we have really large primate exhibits.
Because you want them to have space.
Correct.
Because you know that they're not in their natural environment, so give them as much space as you can.
Yeah. Every single lemur species known to man are found in Madagascar.
Oh, that's incredible. Only one place.
Yep, and there are over 100 species of lemurs.
Wow.
Which is a super cool fun fact.
And why are these lemurs only found in Madagascar? Just one country in the whole world?
So I don't know the exact reason, but going way back in history, you're looking at where they were at when that island broke off. They were probably mainly on that island, so that's where they were able to proliferate. And
they were isolated to that one area.
You got it, yep. Wow. But that's also the hard part for all of those lemur species is that that's only one island. So as the human population grows, they can't get away because they're surrounded by water.
And that's one of the biggest reasons why they're endangered is because of logging and getting rid of their natural environment, right?
Almost every one of those 100 plus lemur species are at least endangered.
Wow. And you don't want it to be that way.
Absolutely, absolutely not. There's always that goal and effort to strive to do better. So hopefully we can.
With each person who visits the zoo and watches them, that's one more person who's learning, and maybe they'll take that knowledge, that thirst for knowledge, and learn even more to help them.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as being aware of your product usage, and it could be as impactful as when the kid that I talk to about these guys and they get to laugh and watch lemurs, when they grow up, they decide that they want to be a researcher and they move over to Madagascar and help.
And do that.
On the ground with what they're doing. It could be that impactful.
Or it could be a group that raises money for them that you can just put some of your resources and your money into if you want.
You got it, yep.
The zoo's Josh Miner doesn't want you to miss out on this kind of behind-the-scenes tour.
We run tours every day, and you can book your tour just 24 hours in advance. So if you're planning a visit for tomorrow, check out our website, toledozoo.org/tours, and there may be a tour available that you could sign up for the day before you come out. There is a fee for the tours.
Okay.
Depending on the tour that you are participating in, the fee changes. If you're a non-member or you're a member bringing non-member guests, the tour includes the admission to the zoo. So that's a great value. And there's a lot of different tours to explore. One that you can sign up for the day of is our bear encounter, and that's just $10 per person to be right there with our Kodiak bear in a bear training session.
And you could do that if you decide to go to the zoo today. You can sign up for that.
Yep, every day it runs.
Our thanks to Josh and Coral for bringing us back here. Oh, and thanks to Tanana, Ferris, Aurora, and Borealis for letting us hang with them too. I'm Tim Miller. See you next time.